Hey everybody, it's a Percussion Podcast. It's episode 303, and you're probably really listening on release date, which is October 28th, 2021. My name's Cangelosi, and with me as usual, we've got, eeny, meeny, miny, Karli Viña. How's it going, Karli?
Oh, I'm the eeny, meeny, miny, Mo. Doing well, Casey. How are you?
Good, thanks, appreciate it. And Ben Charles, eeny, meeny, miny, Ben.
Hey Casey, good to be second.
This should be a thing now. I think we should do all of them like this. It's on a roll. Ksenija Komljenović is here too. Hey, Ksenija.
Hey, Casey. Good to see you.
Yep, you all too. Well, hey, real quick, like I said, this is coming out October 28th, and we like to do a what happened in music history real quick, just so you learn something every episode if you didn't already know. And this week, I found that it was the first performance of William Grant Still's Symphony No. 1, which is called the Afro-American Symphony. So this is a significant piece. This is 1931, and this is the first symphony to be performed by a African American composer, at least by like a major symphony orchestra, and it was the Chicago Symphony. So sort of like we talked about the Tremonisha by Scott Joplin a few weeks ago. That was the first opera to implement like jazz elements. This is the first symphony to implement jazz elements to any like popular extent. So yeah, cool piece if you don't know it. Timpani, cymbals, triangle, vibraphone, a few little like very sparse but nice little solo vibraphone moments in it. So yep, check
Hey
out
Casey,
William Grant Stills. Yeah.
did you say it was premiered by Chicago?
Let's see.
I read that it was premiered in 1931 by the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra.
Oh, you know what? You're exactly right. Sorry, there's a real popular recording, Chicago Symphony, but yeah, I'm looking at it right now. You're absolutely right. Rochester Philharmonic.
DMA.
Yeah, DMA, that's right. That's why you have the DMA. Howard Hanson conducting. Yeah, thanks, Ben. You're exactly right. So anyway, and I guess it was like one of the most performed American symphony, I believe I read till about 1950. So anyway, think about that today and take a listen if you haven't already. So we got special guest for you today. He really doesn't need any introduction. He's a world famous composer, performer, educator. He's traveled and performed everywhere. It's pointless to name it all because just think of a place and he's been there. So we could probably find fewer places he hasn't performed than has, certainly. I will say he teaches at the Conservatory of Strasbourg. And he's the very well-known and famous Emmanuel Séjourné. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Fine.
Yep. So you guys, the French are here. Also joining us, Anna Jolie Caron is back on the show. She's going to maybe assist in some translating. I hope also assist in just some answers. So hey, welcome back, Anna Jolie.
Thank you very much. I love.
Yep. So, hey, well, first question, Emmanuel, you've got these like three inseparable activities that you're just, very big part of what you do in your career. And of course, that's composer, percussionist, and teacher. So I wonder if you'd open up just by kind of describing your evolution and career for us.
Yeah, it's first, I can tell you that I was pianist between 5 years old and 17 years old. And I work a lot my piano, and for me it was music, piano, point. And it was relatively hard because my piano teacher was an old woman from Russia. It was Russian school, and it was really hard for me.
I understand. I did the same. Very, very hard, but very good.
But it was comment on dit Anne-Julie, pleurer. Je pleurais très souvent.
Each lesson, he would cry very often because of the pressure.
Really. Really, it was really hard, but it was excellent teacher. It's all pedagogic from all time, but it was really good, and I played Brahms, Chopin, Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, Ravel, Debussy, and that was my culture. And during this time, I worked for my curiosity. I worked violin to know how write for strings, and it was interesting for me, but it was not my really instrument because my hands are really big. It's between C and G.
Oh wow!
Piano.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah,
that's octave. Octave, it's it's no problem. And
so that's the 12th, everybody. He's not talking about the 5th. He's talking about the 12th.
It was really good for Brahms or Rachmaninoff. It was really, really not easy, but more comfortable. Our repertoire is wonderful as pianist, but you are absolutely alone.
Right.
You teach you are with your teacher during 1 hour, after 1 week alone to practice, after 1 hour with your teacher, she crying for you. And after alone. And it's really hard. And as percussionists, we don't imagine what is. And at 17 years old, I had a fingers problem. And I needed to stop the piano. Perhaps I practiced too much. It was 6-hour piano each day. And I needed to choose another instrument. And it was percussion in Strasbourg. I was in Strasbourg. It was percussion from Strasbourg. It was really interesting for me. And I decided to start percussion at 17 years old. And that was for me really an other world. Crazy. Totally crazy, but we were together. The old student helped the young student. I think that percussion, it's like micro society in university or in conservatory. And pianist or violinist, it's for each point. Percussion, we are together. And the mentality, the feeling is we need to share instruments, we need to share rooms, we need to help, we need to be together. And for me, it was another life. And really, it was a big shock. Music could be like this. Wow, not alone with my piano, with Rachmaninoff or with Beethoven, but with other people. And that was really, really... I was open for that. And in the same time, I heard music that never I heard. It was with a report, it was jazz rock, it was Mahavishnu, it was jazz music, and it was wow, wonderful. And now I keep the two cultures with me, classical and the jazz rock, ethnic music. And it was a big shock for me. And naturally, when I started percussion, vibes and marimba was more interesting for me because piano, the feeling was little the same for me. And when I saw 3 times Burton and Korea. It was 1981. or little earlier, 1980. And it was really, for me, it was big shock. Because Burton, for me, Burton, it was the best. Burton was the best with Chick Corea for my taste. But for me, the big thing was Chick Corea, because I saw a pianist, composer with smile. And that I decided, oh, that it's this way I would like to do. And after that, I saw that my teacher was Jean Batting, and Jean Batting was director and fondateur from Percussion from Strasbourg, timpanist from Strasbourg Orchestra, and teacher in conservatory. And big man with he was heart also. Not Russian school, but heart with a heart energy. But it was my wonderful teacher. But I saw that during my studies, I saw that the repertoire for percussion was nothing if you compare with piano. And that I decided to compose really, really early, because it was nothing. And it was really interesting for me, because if you compare with piano, we have a million score, and percussion at my period, it was nothing. It was interesting, and I decided to compose also. And the third thing, it's my teacher asked me to be his assistant I was 20 years old. It was 3 years after I start percussion, because naturally it's I go fast, because after 10 years piano, I played before. I played sonata, 2 piano percussion, but I played the piano part.
Wow.
Naturally, it's in percussion. I don't tell that it's easy, but it's more easier when you have ear training, violin culture, piano culture. You go fast, and I was assistant from my teacher at 20 years old, and that was my 3 job: percussionist, teacher, and composer. And yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Do you think, you've mentioned 2 teachers now, and how they were kind of really hard, and it was hard, but it was very good. And Ksenija, you mentioned your first piano teacher that way also. Do you all think, are we too nice now? Do we need to bring some of that back?
Anne-Julie, fais-moi la traduction.
He's wondering, should we bring some of this
heart,
like some of this approach of your teachers? Excuse-moi.
Mais dis-le-moi en français.
Ok. Tes 2 professeurs étaient très exigeants, même voire difficiles, sévères. Puis Casey se demande, est-ce qu'on devrait peut-être en ramener ça un petit peu dans notre enseignement?
Oui, it's a good question. I had no answer. It was old school, and now I think it's not possible. But perhaps we need to find a good balance. I think it's difficult to tell. I think that you need to have exigence, Anne-Julie.
Like rigor?
We need to be demanding.
Rigor, yeah.
Ouais, exigence, yeah. With professional study. With students, professional, I want to have results. And okay, it's not, but I would to have a result, and it's not, and the job is relatively hard, and for professional students, we need to not to be hard, but to have direction. But for child, when I was 7, it was really hard, and it was. She broke. My piano teacher broke a lot of people.
Yeah.
And okay, I resist. I don't know why. Because perhaps my parents helped me. And for me it was piano. Anyway, the teacher, it was piano and music. But she broke a lot of people, and we need to adapt pedagogy for child.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, well said. And that's always the thing I've heard. The answer is like, yeah, sure, some people really respond well to this, but you got to imagine all the people you've never heard of that didn't respond well. So, yeah, of course, yeah, we can't bring it all the way back from where it used to be. Let's move on to the next question here. Do you have any thoughts just how percussion arrived at its current state? You know, what changes have you seen over the years with all your travel and experience?
My teacher was in 1952. He studied in Paris first, and his final exam was a concerto. At this time, concerto, it was different movement. It was one movement with timpani and piano, one other movement with perhaps marimba or xylorimba, and one other movement, a little triangle, perhaps one cymbal and perhaps 2 tom-tom and a little snare. And that was the final of Paris. And now with the same concerto, I forgot the name, with the same concerto, we give this piece for people, for child now.
Yeah.
After 4 years percussion, you play this concerto, but at the time my teacher, it was the final exam Paris. You don't have any instrument with the same evolution as percussion, perhaps saxophone.
Right.
But when you see the piano program in Paris, now it's absolutely the same difficulty as before. When you see the program for piano, for violin, for other instruments, the difficulty stays the same as 50 years before. Naturally, it's the piece are perhaps you add at the program, you add contemporary piece, but the difficulty stays. The difficulty are the same. But for us, it's absolutely different. Now our repertoire is rebond, manoury. Sorry, Anjuli. Rebond, manoury, moi-je, Mantovani. But that is our classical piece. But our classical piece, it's what? It's 40 years old, or 30, or 20 years old. It's incredible. And for me, it's interesting, but it could be dangerous, because I think that sometimes it's a little too hard, and we forget the fundamental base. And for me, the fundamental base for percussion, as percussionist is ear training, sight reading, and wrist.
Right. It's really, I think it's really wonderful how we've accelerated so much But something else we've taken with us is this expectation of including something new. It seems like it's very, I don't know if it's expected, but it's very common. So, student recital, there's a new piece, a piece that's never been performed before. Someone is balancing a cup on their head while juggling, bowling balls that are on fire, and we're all just like,
I want
yeah,
this piece.
Yeah, totally. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, Ben. But yeah, Anna Julie.
Yeah, I have to say that actually it's something I find very difficult because, for example, Creston Marimba Concerto. I actually really like that concerto because the orchestration is really good. Like, actually, with Séjourné's concertos, those are my favorite. And you can't really play that anymore because people who know marimba are going to be like, what is she doing playing that piece? But it's good music. And also, I really like, I played piano too before, and I really like those composers like Brahms, Schumann, and all of this. And I'm always worried. I feel like I won't be taken as seriously as if I was playing some new piece. And I have to assume it now because that's the direction I want to go. But part of me is like, they won't take me seriously. Maybe they won't be interested in my music. And so, yeah, it's true. We have to learn to play new music or contemporary to be taken seriously. That I had to say it because I have been thinking it for a long time.
Pianists I've talked to, they always call their like competition concertos the war horses, and like not every piano concerto is a war horse, but yeah, you only take the most virtuosic, show-offy piece, and it seems like. Yeah, like what is considered that for us is still being worked out, and I understand another frustration I have, I think, is in exploring new repertoire, teaching composers how to write for percussion, and also just being like desperate for new repertoire. It seems like percussionists, I think we put up with a lot, like, oh, you wrote for me to play chimes while I'm playing bass drum with my foot while I'm doing this, and I have 2 seconds to pick up a triangle, and I just have to hit it with a drumstick because that's all I have. It's like, well, that's not how you play triangle. Nope, you don't hit triangle with a drumstick, unless it's Bartok and he's telling you to. Like you don't. No, sorry, like I can't play crash cymbals with my foot while playing chimes with my other with my hands. Like, no, you need to learn how to write for the instrument. Like, I feel like we have to, back up a little bit, very much to what Emmanuel's saying. Like, well, there's still like, let's not forget the basics of just like what a good, crash cymbal sounds like. And because we're trying so hard, we're reaching so hard for new rep and to be included in what's already going on because our growth has been so exponential. Yeah, Ben, tell us about Bartok.
I was going to say, it seems like there's also a fine line though between being, I understand what you're saying, but also like closed-minded to exploration. Like if someone were to write a piece for like 8 cigarette lighters, which my students are working on right now and having a blast with.
But it's very reasonable to say like, hey, you have to play a cigarette lighter and you can play it properly. Like, I guess what I'm saying would be the equivalent of you have to play the cigarette lighter with your nose. It's like, well, that's not how you do it. That's not how you use a cigarette lighter. Use a cigarette lighter like this. So the composer, and by the way, here, everyone, the joke is Emmanuel Séjourné has this great piece for lighters in the dark. It's called Do You Need a Light? Or Anyone Need a Light? Something like that. And so I think, there is like a little difference there. It's like, no, let's be creative. Let's explore. But like, make sure you've worked it out. Make sure they aren't trying to do something impossible. Yeah, Ben.
No, I wanted to share a funny story about this piece we're talking about. The translation is, do you have a light? I won't butcher the French with whoever's in the room here. But I had my students perform this piece probably about 7 years ago or so at the university I was teaching at. And afterward, the band director came up to me and he was like, great concert, really enjoyed it. By the way, next time if you're using fire in a performance, we need to know ahead of time. And he said that he was like, we just need to run it by risk management, and they would just have someone with a fire extinguisher stand, just off stage. which I understand makes sense if someone's hair caught on fire or something. So this go around, I was not going to risk getting in trouble again. And so I actually had our engineering department, I bought some flashlights on Amazon. I wish I had one here, but they took the switches out and put a different switch on that clicks like on and off like a lighter. So we have this 21st century version of it, and it's a lot more reliable than trying to scrape your fingers off on lighters. But I just wanted to share my little fun story with that piece.
I'm just going to tell them it's not fire. They're not real lighters. It's not.
I thought about actually trying to get away with it.
Karli, sorry, we skipped over you.
That's all right. Bring it back to talking about contemporary repertoire and what crazy composers. I think I've said this on the show before, but when I was learning Safa, I thought if a composer handed me the score and said, learn this, Safa by Xenakis, I would have said, like, this is insane. Like, I can't do this. But knowing by the time I learned it, all these other people have done it and it is an amazing piece, you kind of have the trust to be like, okay, I can do this. But I don't know. I guess it's the balance between difficulty and what's practical and possible and musical and all of that.
I think it's that principle we've talked about before of, the fastest mile ran was 6 minutes in the, I don't know, I'm making this up now, don't quote me, the 30s. And as soon as somebody passed 6 minutes, they got 5:55, literally the next day, other people did it. And now that mile run is down to 4 minutes, and I guess it happened like that every time. Like as soon as someone did it, others did it like very, very shortly after. And I think the first time it was literally like the next day. So yeah, that just notion that like, oh, this is possible. I can do that. Yeah, cool. Let's see, what's next? I have, let's see. Well, as a teacher, what are practical career paths you see for students in percussion today?
Law. Medicine.
Wow.
Not percussion.
It's it's depending. I see. It's a difficult question. When I see my period when I was student and after in job, it was relatively easy to find a job. I worked a lot. I searched job, but it was relatively easy if you work, if you have a good feeling with the other, because music is also feeling with the other. We can find job, but now it's little different. The market job, on dit ça, Anjuli, market job, le marché du travail.
There is the market.
The market, okay.
Good job.
We can see that actually is interesting because with the COVID period, but before also students are little afraid. And they would like to have security for the job. And security for the job, it's only pedagogy, teaching, or orchestra. And we see that in France. Perhaps the situation is different in USA and in France. I don't know, but for teaching, we know that our students, it's at the end of study, 25% teach, 25% or 25 play in orchestra, and stay 60% or 55 play, sometimes concerts, sometimes teaching, but without security. Security as, it's a job, permanent job. And we see that the situation is bad. When I see, for example, marimba player I was in Japan relatively often. When I see, for example, it's not against Japan, but I see people would like play only marimba. When I see university and I ask, because it's interesting for me to ask, okay, what you make, what you would like to make, to play in your life, what you see your life, and so on. And I ask how I would like to play marimba, okay? And you play with chamber music, or no? I would like to play marimba solo, okay? But you play contemporary music? No, I don't want to play contemporary music. I play Samu or Séjourné or Kekwabe, or okay, nice, happy for me. But and after that, I ask you play improvisation. I don't know. I would like play only music. Okay. And last question, you play other instrument? No. I would like play only marimba. I'm afraid about the future because it's absolutely close. And now I ask my student to play really, to be open for all instruments, to be open for a lot of style of music, and after to have a lot of possibility to eat with music. That is important. And after, if they can have choice to play, okay, to be a star with marimba or to be star with the snare drum, I'm happy. But for this moment, for security, for my students, I would like that. No, not too early specialization. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I think it's probably, and I know when I was young, it's so hard when you've been taken care of to, imagine taking care of yourself and trying to balance what you want to do and what you love so much, but then also against the reality of like, well, if I had to really take care of myself, what does that feel like? And let alone just myself, what about taking care of someone else too? Or taking care of a family, or all of a sudden it's so hard to put yourself in that mindset if you've never been there.
Well, I think it's something that we've heard a lot on the show from a lot of teachers and performers, that well-roundedness, especially while you're young, will help a lot with security and just even going with the flow and seeing like what direction you can go in and what types of playing or what instruments or styles that you really love. You might not discover if you're thinking, I want to be just a concert solo marimbist and play this style of music and nothing else.
Well, and I asked earlier, do we need to bring back, some percentage of that like hard teacher attitude that, Emmanuel said benefited him. And I feel like Naoko Takata showed us a smidge of that when she was saying, oh, you don't like the repertoire and the competition? My advice, don't think about it. Just do it. It's like, I mean, yeah, if you want to take care of yourself, I guess so. Like it can't just be only what you want to do all the time. That might not work. It might make you really good at that one thing because you're doing it as passion. But I don't know. I thought she had kind of the reality of it is this. I'm not saying that's how it should be. I'm just saying that's how it is. Let's do next question, and it is, let's see, is there an aspect of training that you feel is most important to a student's career success?
Anne-Julie?
Oui.
Alors, tu vas traduire. L'important, c'est de jouer très bien les instruments.
The important, what he thinks is the most important is to play everything very well.
Mais l'important, c'est de se créer des réseaux, des contacts et d'avoir des idées.
But also to have ideas and create, and I guess have connections or create connections.
And the students forgot that. They think that they play really good marimba or snare or drums, and wow, I'm ready for the job. But no, they need to create contact, to go to festival, and that it's really another job. but they need to think about, and they need to think about the proposition program, and that is really important. And to have imagination to create other job, new job.
Yeah, wonderful. Is there an aspect of performance that you think, like, what makes a performer good? And I guess I'm thinking of your experience as a judge at competitions. You know, you've judged all the world's percussion competitions probably 10 times over. And what is it that makes a really good player? And if you have any feelings about these competitions as well.
When I see people on the competition, when I would like to forget percussion, I would glad to see musician and no good percussionist, but good musician and good personality. That is really my priority. And I like when I see really hard personality and good musician and different people. For example, when you see Anjuli, she's excellent, but she's different from Kai Strobel, and she's different from Simone Rubino on Gerasimez, and that is wonderful. But le point commun, comment on dit le point commun?
The common point?
Ah, the common point. Bah oui,
non, mais je
commun.
sais pas. Hein?
Common point is they are musicians. They are all different, but they are musicians. And not only percussionists. And they have a big personality. And that's we need to have for competition. After, naturally, you judge for the sound, feeling, respect of writing, and so on. But after this first, and dynamic, and blah, 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 and sticking, blah, blah. But after that, the first priority is personality, musician. Percussion, it's not important.
How do you feel about competitions? Do you think they're healthy, good things? Do you think it'd be nice if we could do what we do without the aid of competitions?
And Julie?
Qu'est-ce que tu penses des compétitions? Est-ce que tu penses que c'est bon? Est-ce que tu penses que c'est sain? Est-ce que tu penses qu'on pourrait faire ce qu'on fait sans l'aide des compétitions, qu'on pourrait réussir? Tout ça, là, qu'est-ce que tu penses des compétitions?
Big competition is big help for the winner. When you see, I was really young, and I was judged for a competition when Momoko Kamiya and Katarzyna Miszka won Luxembourg competition. I was judge. Wow. It was funny. And it was big help for Momoko, because Momoko won the competition and she had job. And we know that when you are a winner, really often you can have job in your country, particularly in Asia, more or less. After that, yeah, it could be good. Now I think we have a little. It could be dangerous, because I think, but it's my opinion, and it's only me. But I think that the repertoire now is on all times the same. And we turn, and people prepare during 4 years, rebond A, rebond B, interzone, moi je, Carter, and we turn, and for each competition, it could be Trompe, it could be Munich, Genève, it's the same piece. Naturally, sometimes you have a new piece, but the repertoire is the same. It's interesting, but perhaps we we need to imagine other piece or other repertoire or other competition. I don't know, but now I think that it's all time I hear rebomber, rebond A, and rebomber, rebond A. I cannot to hear more. Sorry. Huh?
I'm with you.
To be honest, I cannot. But it's my opinion, and there is a lot of people like rebomber, rebond A. I like rebomber, rebond A, but not too much.
Well, it's almost like we're becoming what you described about pianists, you know. And I mentioned it's nice we've seemed to taken part of our standard is like it's expected to at least do one new thing or commission one new thing or write something. But yeah, it is feeling very like, okay, yep, we have our new Mozart and it's Riemanns A and B, and we have our new Beethoven Waldstein and it's this, and yeah, it's becoming
Casey, we don't have Mozart and Beethoven, but we need to have a lot of repertoire, and after that it's like piano, but it's impossible to stop with rebond A, rebond B, and okay, that is our repertoire point.
Right.
We need to go to the future.
Right, like we don't know if Riemanns B is the Mozart yet because we only have the one Riemanns B. We need more of those popular pieces to sort them out. Well, speaking of going towards the future, you know, it seems like there's some well-supported genres of composition today, like hyper avant-garde stuff, experimental stuff, theatrical stuff, pop music, neoclassical, all that fit within percussion and composers we have. What do you think, where do you think we're going, and where should we go? Where do we need to go?
I don't know. I don't know. I see that actually it's difficult because it's impossible to have a career plan when you are students, or for me sometimes it's I meet one people and the guy told me, you have I make a commission for you because I have idea and blah blah blah, and it's difficult. It's difficult to tell you, but I am sure that the future of, for example, for composer, it will be with other arts, with video or with dance or with other instrument or with movies. Music alone for this moment, I don't know, because I hope, but actually you have a lot of projects with other arts, with movie, and naturally people prefer to see and to hear. And you see that c'était un Julie. On a beaucoup de gens qui regardent des vidéos presque maintenant sans le son.
Now he says we have lots of people who watch videos without even the sound.
And perhaps we need to imagine composition with dance, composition with a lot of arts, but only instrument alone. And I am not, and my taste is, I'm not absolutely not for percussion solo. For me, it's interesting, but it's not direction. It's, for me, our future is with other arts together and with chamber music. But alone, I think it's dangerous. It's interesting, but we are not like piano. We are not the same repertoire, and recital percussion solo, it's interesting, but for me, I hate play solo. To be honest, also, it's interesting, but it's not a but for young percussionists. I think it's a bad way.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks so much. Ksenija, I think let's wrap up with some social media questions. I think we have a few.
Yes, we have quite a few social media questions. Our listeners were so happy when they heard that we get to talk to you. So we'll get through these quickly. The first one is from Ante Kolešik, who said, who so far was your favorite percussionist to collaborate with in the commissioning process?
Julie, la question, c'est bien les gens avec qui j'ai bien aimé travailler, c'est ça?
En fait, même, ça serait qui tes personnes préférées, les artistes avec qui tu as préféré collaborer pour des commandes d'œuvres? C'est dangereux.
A lot, but it was I like my freedom. And when I have commission, I like to have distance with the commissioner. But a big things, it was, for example, with Bogdan Bacanu for marimba concerto. Bogdan told me, okay, I would like to have one concerto more classical, and it was my culture also. And he explained to me what he would like to have, and he let me with my freedom, and the contact was really funny. And after, when I composed for Wave Quartet with Bogdan, Christopher Zitzen, and I composed a concerto for 4 marimba and strings, Gotan, and it was also really open, and it was really funny. And I can tell you that, for example, my marimba concerto, and Julie know and play really good my marimba concerto, but for myself, I never played my marimba concerto.
Wow.
Never. I don't want. Why? Because it's like, it's interesting. It's like theater writer. I composed for Bogdan first. And now a lot of people play this concerto, and I like that. But I heard marimba, and I in my head it was Bogdan play.
Yes.
And it's not my style of marimba for myself. It's not my feeling for myself. And between us, I prefer vibes. I prefer play vibes. But it's like when you are theater writer, you hear one actor, and you write for one people, but not for yourself. And for me, it was the same.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. I'm just wondering, when you compose, do you compose? I know you said you don't play the concerto, but do you still compose behind the marimba? Like, do you try out stuff? No. Okay.
It's depending. I don't compose only for percussion. I compose sometimes for orchestra, or I compose for choir, and I like that. Or for TV. Not for movies, but I would like, because it's my feeling, it's movies. But I compose a lot with. I have no rules. I can compose with piano. You see, that is my
workstation. Yeah.
That is my bureau, and I have immediately. I have idea in my head. I would like to and that is piano first. After I try, I try on marimba vibes. But first is piano.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My culture.
Yeah. So you mentioned your first marimba concerto, and we have a question here from Gianmarco Petrucci asking about the process for the composition of your marimba concerto. And I think he's asking about first coming out with 2 movements and then the third. And can you tell us about that?
Okay, first the commission was 2 movements. It was I forgot the year, and it was 1 slow movement and 1 fast movement. And after 3 or 4 years, Bogdan asked me, Oh, it could be nice if you compose like the classical form, if you compose one first big movement, and with one first big movement, slow movement, and one third movement relatively short, we have a classical form. And after I composed the first movement.
Well, wonderful. We were all really happy to receive that. That new first movement was like dessert before dinner somehow. Right? It was fantastic. So one more question from our buddy Jade Hales, who says, can you talk about composing for vibraphone? Why is it challenging, and what you would like to see more of written for vibraphone?
I don't prefer to compose for vibes. I like to compose for all instruments, and to be honest, my first preference, my first choice could be orchestra, because with orchestra, like composer, you have all sound, and it's wonderful. I like vibes for myself as player, because for me vibes is like piano, because pedal perhaps. I prefer for my feeling, for my sensibility, I prefer vibes. I like marimba, but vibes, it's good. I have all-time problem with solo piece when I compose for vibes or for marimba. My problem is 4 sticks, and as I choose, and when I play piano, I have big chords, and when you play vibes and when you make improvisation in jazz, as pianist, you can add notes, you can add 7th, 9th, 11th. But when you play vibes or marimba, you make calculation. Okay, which note I can erase, and that is difficult. But I like vibes, and I have composed new piece for vibes. Soon ready.
Ooh, soon
Vibe solo.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's exciting, because we had a listener, ham_playdrum from Instagram, I don't know this person's name, saying, are you working on any new compositions? So that's coming up. I also saw that there's some pieces for xylophone coming out in 2021.
Yeah, I composed a piece for xylophone. It was a caprice, 10 caprice for xylophone. It's relatively hard. It could be for xylophone or for marimba, 2 sticks. And now I compose a piece for full orchestra, no solist, and I compose also, I have a new marimba concerto.
So many things to look forward to. Is there a premiere set for that new marimba concerto? Do you know what year it's gonna come out?
For this moment, I can tell you when it's ready, but it could be soon.
Okay. Oh, that's exciting. That's amazing. We have more questions. This one is, or there are many, from Dmitry Konovalchuk. He says, hello from Ukraine. I love your music very much.
Thank you very much.
He says, who inspires you?
A lot of things. My inspiration, it's Ravel. For classical music, is Ravel, Bartók, and for jazz rock, I like to hear Chick Corea, Pat Metheny, and Spanish music, flamenco.
Yeah.
But my inspiration, it's when I hear string quartet from Shostakovich, is inspiration. Inspiration, it's my curiosity. And I eat new things that I hear, and that is my culture, slowly, and I grow up with a new thing that I hear.
Yeah. Well, he also said, do you have a composing routine, and do you always start with the beginning of a piece when you compose?
C'est quoi la question, Anne-Julie?
Est-ce que tu as une espèce de routine de composition? Est-ce que tu commences toujours par le début?
No, I have okay, I have a lot of paper here. And when I travel, or when I am alone, or on my phone, when I hear music, I write. And it's a lot of little things, and it's like a puzzle. And sometimes, when I have time, I try on the piano. Sorry, and I make my puzzle. And sometimes, okay, it's not good. And sometimes I make orchestration, and I make my development. But it's really idea. It's like puzzle. And I have no rules.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the only way you can go about it. It won't fit if you do it always step
My
one,
first rules is when I hear, and when it's okay for me, it's my best. It's that I have no rules for like contemporary music, for example, to have a no. For me, it's okay or it's not okay with my ear.
Wonderful. Our last question from social media was from Petrucci Gabriel, who said, do you have any suggestions on how to interpret and study your new piece, Karnataka? Thanks.
It's a big question. I can tell that when you have a new piece, and when, for example, because I compose, but sometimes I play piece for other composer, I search to have information about this composer. And you cannot play Manuri like you play Beethoven, and and you need to search. And I like to hear other piece. When I play one composer, I like to search my information, to hear other piece, to read about the composer, to know his style, and one is his music. Because when you write music, you write, but you let place for interpretation. And this place is important, and this place is naturally really important. But this place you need to search and to have information, and that is culture. And after that, you play and you work, and naturally you can marimba concerto. You can work with one direction, and when you work rebond A or rebond B or other piece, you work with other direction. But you need to have information first about composer and style of music.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, Petrucci Gabriel, if you haven't checked it out already, there is a couple of paragraphs on Séjourné's website that you can read about the piece and the inspiration. So if you need somewhere to start from, you can go there for that latest piece. So there you go, do some research there. Well, thank you so much. That's all from Instagram. It showed a lot of love for you, and everyone was really happy to know that you're going to be our guest. So thank you.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Off to Ben.
Yeah, I had one other question. It's funny, Emmanuel, I've never met you, but I've heard so much of your music, and it's so clear there's so much joy in all of your music. And one of the first pieces of yours that I became familiar with was Martians Tribes, which I think is actually relatively unknown in the US. And it's such a quirky, weird piece. Could you tell us about that piece?
Oh yes, it was funny. Martian Tribes. I like science fiction. I like Asimov, Van Vogt, and I like this literature. I am crazy about Asimov, and I was with Bob Van Cise. That was from Bob. We played really often. One moment when Bob was in Europa, we played a trio: Miguel Bernard, Bob, and me. And one moment, Bob teach in Rotterdam, and he asked me, "Oh, I have a student. They have a quartet, and they would like to have one piece, but they have only one marimba. Okay, and it was Martian tribes, and for me it was funny to have a choreography and a visual piece with 4 players and one marimba. And it's the same feeling with Kamsin, with for Gene Koshinski and Tim Brocius. It was one marimba, 2 players, and you turn around, and I like that.
It's fun.
Yeah, because I like the choreography. It's not it's not big choreography, but you have each group has place to make his choreography. With Martian tribes, I saw a lot of different versions, and it was funny to see the different direction. And I like that. It's a job for interpret.
Well, gosh, thanks so much, Emmanuel Séjourné, for joining us. Anna Jolie, thanks so much for tagging in and helping us out. Yes, thank you so much. Ksenija, Karli, Ben, thank you. We'll catch you all on 3:04. So we'll say bye now, everybody. Thanks again, and catch you next time.
Ciao. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.